And y'all come on in, because we back again. Today we gonna be jumping into the conversation they was having on the 154 podcast. Godfrey and Akbar back again with their opinions. Last time I jumped into one of these videos from these guys, Godfrey was actually checking what schooling Akbar, and this is basically a continuation of that conversation. So yeah, we gonna dive into the conversation. Y'all make sure y'all let me know where y'all tapping in from in the comments, and we gonna get right to it. All right, so let's dive into this, family.
So Godfrey and I, we were having this conversation about, whether or not there was a beef or what I called a misunderstanding in the Black community between Black immigrants and
foundational Black Americans.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that term.
It's divisive.
We'll get into.
So we gonna stop it right there. So they started the conversation, and they immediately called foundational Black American the term divisive. And I'm trying to figure out, how is it divisive when they label themselves Ghanaian American? That's not divisive. Jamaican American, that's not divisive. Nigerian American, so on and so forth. None of that is divisive. But when we name ourselves, identify our lineage that's rooted here in America, no other country ties, no alliances. So honoring our lineage is divisive. That don't make no sense. But let's continue on. We're gonna check it out.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
But we were having this discussion, and so I'm like, all right, I'm here, and we're going, and we're agreeing back and forth, and I'm going, wait, but there's one side that needed to be represented and heard. And so Godfrey was giving obviously his side. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in agreement. This is everything that I grew up learning about from my teachers, from Mrs. Avion to Dr. Shepard, who was my elementary principal. So all of this stuff I was familiar to. So you were preaching essentially to the choir, and I'm going, amen, amen. All right, but what about this?
Yeah.
And so my interjection into the appreciation of Black immigrants, African immigrants, was really kind of from the standpoint of, as a young kid growing up in South Central Los Angeles in the Crenshaw district, I mean, ridiculously teased, but not only just myself, but I saw that happening to my brothers. I saw that happening to my father. I saw that happening to my mom. In fact, there was a point in the conversation where this is unscripted, where Godfrey and I were talking, and we goes, but y'all Africans, and we kind of in sync and going like, wait, that came from somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's the trauma that being a young African kid growing up, I couldn't hide from it, right? My name was Akbar Bajabia Miller. The first thing you knew, everybody was going to go off on me, right?
Yeah.
So I lived with that. I saw how people disrespected my father. I'm going, wait, bringing it up triggered a lot of people. You can't, how dare you say, appreciate, like, wait, my father contributed to it. And I get it that it was on the heels of the Immigrant National Act of 1965. I get that. But just because that was on the heels, does that mean my father's not to be appreciated in all the other immigrants?
No, I don't think it's, and
this is the backlash.
I know where you're going from.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
because as much as I defend Black Americans, I get stuff where they'll go, you're not Black American, you African.
Right.
And I go, eat a dick? How about that?
So, they started off chopping it up. They got into the jokes and talked about how they were picked on and this, that, and the third. And I just want to say, roasting, playing the dozens is a part of our culture. There's no little I's and big U's when it comes to that. See, roasting or playing the dozens is actually it's a defensive mechanism derived from slavery. And we created the dozens because of verbal attacks. Once we came out of slavery and got the moving around through America, we received verbal attacks from the dominant society. And overreacting to the verbal attacks could sometimes really put you in more danger. So as a defense mechanism, Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, we came up with the dozens, and we roast each other and we crack jokes. See, you Africans are soft, and y'all keep leaning on that saying, oh, they was picking on us. Everybody get it. I don't know nobody in the history of going to school that didn't get roasted. Like, that's a weak ass defense. Y'all need to let that shit go. That's a part of the culture. And then Godfrey continued on and say, as much as he defend foundational Black Americans, that he get people that tell him that he's not Black. And to that, I would just want to say, I totally disagree. I agree with Godfrey. You are Black. You are African American, but you are not a foundational Black American. That's why the term matters. And that's the problem a lot of them have. They can't latch on to that term. So since they can't latch on to it and try to claim our history now, it's divisive. So yeah, man, we're gonna continue on. Let's jump back into this.
But I do, because I'm like, what are you talking about? I grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's a very Black city.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's history of Black Americans is heavy. Jack and Jill, you got the Chicago Defender. A lot of stuff started in Chicago.
The Obamas.
The Obamas, Minister Farrakhan, he's like Nation of Islam. There's so much just so much in Chicago. And my father was an educator for 45 years at Malcolm X College. You know what I mean?
That's pretty Black.
Yeah. Taught on the west side of Chicago.
Right. Yeah.
My father had adult education programs for gangster disciples, Blackstone Rangers, and vice lords.
They keep making
gangbangers. Knew my dad.
Oh, that's pretty Black.
You don't get no. And cats be like, yeah, you're
joke. And nobody's denying your Blackness. But what I find funny about it is, prior to this delineation movement, and I'm not gonna say Godfrey, because Godfrey, we see how Godfrey moves. Godfrey plays both sides of the fence, right? But with the exception of Godfrey, most of you guys from over there that came over here to America, when you guys accomplish something or win an award or something like that, you guys don't say shout out to the African American family. This a win for Black America. No, you get right up there and say this is a win for Guyana. This is a win for Nigeria. We got to stop this fake narrative like everybody's pushing the line. But let's continue.
And taught me how to read, dog. For real, we got your pops. I mean, and my mother was a nurse an OB-GYN nurse who delivered so many people's babies. My mother was known in Chicago. So our Blackness was mended with Black Americans. Most of my friends were Black Americans. And of course there were immigrants, because in the area I lived in Chicago was the most integrated area in Chicago. Because Chicago's the most segregated city till this day.
Facts.
And Milwaukee is second, which is not that far from Chicago.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pause it right there. Chicago is one of the most segregated cities. And Godfrey grew up right here in Chicago. You say he grew up around gangbangers and all that. And all I want to say, you haven't heard Godfrey yet tell a story about how a gang jumped on him because he was African, or how he was beat down because he was African. We don't get down like that in here in Chicago. We don't get down like that at all. We're not just jumping down on somebody because they're from somewhere else. That's not our culture. I told y'all before about Soccer Man who lived on the end of my block to the day he died. He knew all the pimp hustlers and hoes in the neighborhood. He knew all the gang bangers right here in the mix of us. He never had a problem. We actually brought business to this African. He actually was so comfortable, right? The day he died, he tried to get to my house to call 911. That's proof on how comfortable he was amongst us. That he knew if he made it to one of our doorsteps, he was going to receive help. This is an African brother. I had a couple Africans that came up right here on my block. So no, that narrative that people was just picking and beating down on, and this guy talking about some, oh man, I even seen my father go through it. Man, that's a weak ass narrative. Y'all went through somebody cracked a joke and y'all just held that shit to the chest. Like, man, y'all weak, bro. I'm just trying to figure out what we're talking about, but I'm gonna continue on.
So I was in both worlds, like you said, getting made fun of. They used to make fun of me all the time. And I remember this girl named Lois, and I will never forget her. I saw her not too long ago. I hadn't seen her in like 30 years. I remember I was mad about something. I was what 11, 12. And this girl, Lois, she was heavy set at the time. And I remember she was treading water. We had a swimming pool. And I said, and she goes, what's wrong, Godfrey? I said, yeah, they keep making fun of me being African. And she goes, and I will never forget, she goes, well, at least your ancestors weren't slaves. See, at least you have something to connect to. They don't.
You have something to connect to.
And I go, wow, that's the truth. She goes, that's coming from trauma. That's coming from insecurity.
Yeah,
but you don't understand that as a 12-year-old. You're just like, they're just making fun of me. Most 40-year-olds don't understand.
All right, so they say a bunch of 10 and 12-year-olds were cracking jokes out of insecurity because of slavery. Man, at 10 and 12, you're not even thinking like that. Get the fuck out of here. These people are insane. Listen, check this out. Nigeria was named in 1897. It gained its independence in the 1960s. So how the hell you telling us about our roots when most of us could track our roots to before your country even existed? Man, pack these niggas up. And study leaning on the jokes. Man, like I said, that's a part of foundational Black American culture. I crack jokes on my son. He's 6 years old, and he catch them jokes. Let's continue.
No doubt.
Yeah. And I was just going to add to that. This is like that trauma I get now as an adult. But I don't think a lot of, like Black Americans understand the trauma that also caused, because, if you're participating, and you saw it throughout movies, you saw it throughout music. I mean, all of it kind of crapped on the Black African immigrants who came in. And anyone who denies it or says, as I saw in some of the comments, get over it. That was then. Whoa. Now we say get over it. Yeah. Now we say get over it. Like,
hey man, he telling a bald-faced lie. Like, I can't just sit here and let you tell that bald-faced lie. That is not true. We had Queen Latifah in the late 80s coming into the 90s. People was rocking they African medallion chains, them wooden chains and beads. Man, people walking around with dashikis on. No, we was carrying these movements. We carried that Pan-African movement. We showed nothing but love to Africa. That's a false narrative. Like, they really sitting here creating a false narrative. Where's these jokes you talking about? Where's all these insults you're mentioning that was in our culture? Because they're gonna point to some weak joke somewhere. There's no movie in Hollywood where we're dogging out, where foundational Black Americans created this movie and we're dogging out Africans. Name the song where we're just dogging out Africa. That's a false narrative. Most of our musicians went and showed love, Stevie Wonder and people like that. I only know ones that really said, Smokey Robinson said, he don't have no interest and visiting Africa. He's not an African. That's the only person I really heard, get down like that. Like, for the most part, people show y'all love. So what do you mean? You have to come with the references. You got to come with some facts, bro. You can't just be saying anything. So let's get back into it, man.
White superiority ideology.
No doubt.
And remember, we're not talking about white people as individuals. We're talking about the curriculum that's created. So when African immigrants are told about Black Americans, they're told never be like Black Americans.
That's right.
When Black Americans are told about African immigrants, they say, at least you're not from there. And so there's this original story, this narrative that when a Black American man meets a Black African immigrant, they're both dealing with colonial trauma,
Yes.
yet neither of them has been told the same or the correct story of one another. And so that is the initial beef. And the ultimate goal of it is to maintain separation between the entire diaspora. I mean, just think if we were able to get Accra, Lagos, Johannesburg, Atlanta, Oakland. I mean, in 1990, I'll never forget it. It was a few weeks before my.
So yeah. Nobody never told me that. Nobody never even, growing up, you used to hear references. That's the motherland. They taught us about the Sphinx, the Egyptians over there. We learned different things. Nobody was just flat out disrespecting you guys. No one in my family and my household ever said, hey, don't be like those Africans. And I had good examples for them to sit here and be like, hey, man, you see how they musty and all that? Nobody never disrespect them. We just chalked it up to, hey, that's their culture, man. They don't wear deodorant, little stuff like that. Nobody never really disrespected y'all. That's not reality. That's weak thinking. If you sit and let somebody from another culture tell you how to think or feel about another group of people, that's a weak mind process. That's a weak thought process. So we gonna get back into it. See where we at. We right up in here.
13th birthday. Public Enemy release Fear of a Black Planet. We were in line for that.
Yeah.
So I remember getting the cassette tape. Yeah, me too. And so again, talking about being hindsight in 2020, the things that we don't understand is that Public Enemy was talking about Black geopolitics 35 years ago.
Yep.
Fear of a Black Planet literally transcribed everything we're talking about right now. When you think of Terror Dome,
I got so much trouble on my mind.
Hollywood Burn with Big Daddy Kane and Ice Cube.
Yep.
So this is.
So they all sat there and agreed they was in line, and how Chuck D and Public Enemy, Flavor Flav, they push geopolitics. That proves my point. Black geopolitics has been on FBA back. Chuck D, Flavor Flav, we've been pushing the line. They're foundational Black Americans. Now, give me the example of the African that was pushing the line, that has pushed the lines, and you don't have to go back to the early 1900s. Give me somebody as of late. Give me some people. Man, these people just be talking, y'all. They are sit and contradict themselves right there. Just let them talk. They will literally contradict themselves. Let's get back into it.
It's because you all are talking about the conversation that happens between Black Americans and Black immigrants, but it's a similar conversation happening between Black Americans and other Black Americans. And that's the level of depth that this is. Yeah. My first encounter with white supremacy was not from white people. It was growing up in a housing project in Buffalo, New York, where I was consistently told, you talk white.
Oh my God.
Yeah, now my response would be, response was consistently, it's actually you speak white, but obviously I didn't say that, but I could be that. But so the thought is that every single intersection of Blackness.
You talk white. That's a myth. You don't hear people people don't say that in real life. You'll hear people saying you talk proper. That must be something in their culture or something. Cause like I say, you'll hear a person say, hey man, you talk real proper. They talk proper. Don't nobody say, what is talking white? We gonna put an end to some of these narratives. I know I could pronunciate some words really fucked up sometimes. My son talks so proper. Like, no, we don't know. What do they do that at? That's why we gotta stop. We gotta put an end to these myths. Let's get back into it, man.
I grew up in the hood, but I'm like, wait, growing up in the hood, what does that mean? Like, then you start getting into the conversation of the black card thing. Like, wait, so what do I have to sound like? Because I feel like, and tell me if you feel this way, that I'm in this conversation, that I feel like I'm uniquely situated. You're uniquely situated, being that I am a first generation Nigerian born in America, grew up in the hood. My father experienced from the redlining and then racism and all the other experiences that have been negative and positive I've experienced. So where does that idea come of that I get to question your blackness because of the way you sound? Like, what the hell is that? That's the dumbest
but it
I
ever.
agree. Somebody's questioning your blackness because of how you speak. That's ignorance. And I don't care what culture you come from, that's ignorance. And like I said when this video first started, you black. Both of y'all sitting up there, y'all black. All of you guys are African American, but you are not foundational Black American. You know, you've been through redlining and all of that. You know, coming from where you guys come from, going through redlining, you know, that's a privilege. Because, you know, we had towns burned down. We went through lynchings. Our families assaulted throughout time and throughout history here in America, and we continued to push. So, okay, you went through redlining. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Nobody's questioning your blackness. What we letting be known is y'all not foundational Black Americans. That's all. It's not divisive. All of this is divisive now because we're defining ourselves because we're from right here. I'm gonna get back into this. See where we at, y'all.
Because white supremacy says,
listen to this.
This is the definition of blackness. That's why Theo Huxtable was such an important character on television. It allowed black boys to see, oh, I can still be just as black as I need to be, still speak this way, still dress this way. When you think about Andre 3000, he allowed hip hop heads to see a different type of blackness because he was an exception. And so we have to understand that the messages that we get demand that we stay in a particular category in order to be black so that people can continue to pull and separate us apart. Yeah, your dad participated in the foundational experience of South LA, of the Crenshaw district, back when there was still redlining, back when people still couldn't get jobs. So yeah, your dad did experience the exact same things that Black Americans experience, in addition to the intersection of the immigrant experience.
So he say, yeah, he experienced the foundational experience. Listen, I'm gonna start with this. It's many archetypes in the FBA community. This is a lineage. You have people from all different walks of life out of this lineage, not just the hood, quote unquote, hood archetype. As far as the Andre 3000, this is how you can kind of tell they're not from our culture, because they call themselves learning our culture from mainstream media, MTV, BET, movies, and things of that nature. This is how they lose the connection. What Andre 3000 was doing wasn't new. Andre 3000 was doing what he seen done before, what he seen Melly Mel and the Furious Five doing. And you know what Melly Mel and the Furious Five was doing? They was doing what they seen done. They were seeing what George Clinton and the Funkadelics were doing. You see how that worked? They don't know our culture. They don't really know where this stuff come from. That stuff been going on since the 70s, bro, 60s. Man, ain't nothing new under the sun. There's thousands of Theo Huxtables at that time in different neighborhoods. But the problem was you guys was learning our culture via the media. Trying to learn from television, trying to learn from movies, trying to learn from music videos, and you was missing the point. Yeah, you're gonna feel like that because you're learning our culture from a white perspective. Before there was an Andre 3000, there was a Native Tongues. Man, it's been going on. There's been many different archetypes in our community. We're not one track minded. Yeah, so like I say, if you learning our culture through MTV, BET, movies, you already lost. And going through redlining still don't equal the full foundational Black American experience here in America. While you went through the foundational experience, no, you went through redlining. You guys caught the end. You caught the drag. It was sweet by the time y'all came around here. Y'all missed the real battles. And on top of that, if you look back at it, ever since the mid 1960s, Civil Rights Bill was passed, more African immigrants was allowed over here, African and Caribbean. If you look back on time, you will realize a lot of our movements have not had the same momentum since the 60s. Since we've had an influx of Caribbean and African immigrants in our mix. I'm gonna continue on. I just want y'all to think about that. Since we start having these people in our mix, our movements have not gained traction like they used to when we was a conglomerate and locked in amongst each other. So we're gonna continue on this video.
Yeah, now, when you put all that together and remember the messages that everybody is being told, he is primitive. He is below you. And then you see him succeeding, you naturally have a trauma response because the world has told you for generations that he's nothing.
Yeah, right.
He's nothing. Why is he doing that? And then it creates this divide in the same way that your dads probably received messages about Black Americans and maybe consciously or subconsciously told you, don't be like him. You see that guy on the street? He's like that because he's a Black American. There's no fault of his own doing that. Yeah, that's just what happens. That's how white supremacy works.
Let me. This is what was told to me, and this is how I perceived it growing up. And I think this is why I think I stand on.
So yeah, there they go again with what somebody told them. And like I told y'all, that's a weak mindset to let somebody and we've heard this many a time. They say when they come through the immigration process, let them tell it. there's some white people that tell them to stay away from the Black Americans. And y'all weak mind ran with that. Just remember this. Remember they saying people was telling them that's what we were told, you know. So when we get over here, we just, you know, we just stay away because we was told you guys are trouble. So remember that thought process when he say what he's gonna say next. One second, y'all. Let me get it queued up. Here we go. All right, listen.
And they saw a better opportunity. Now, I could understand from a Black American saying, yo, like Jim Crow and slavery and everything that has gone on in Black American history, like, hell no, we don't have it good here. And I liken it to this. When you get what happened there in Africa and you get the colonizers who come over and they steal, just come out there and steal, that's called slavery, right? And bring them over to another house called America. But before they leave, they set that bitch on fire.
Listen to
and
this.
They put Africa on fire and destroyed their economy, destroyed their religion, destroyed their people, destroyed everything, separated family. People forget that. They separated families.
Yeah.
So dad over there, mom over there, dad over there, kid over there. Like they separated.
Yeah.
And then to say this one years and years later generation, some of the same people that were being making fun of, you might have been making fun of your cousin, right? You might have been making fun of your cousin.
We're all
cousins. That's right.
Literally.
You're right.
Literally.
And I'm talking about like from the direct line, but yes, your cousin, yes.
Yeah.
But you set that on fire, right? So now you're over there. Yes, it's bad. I'm not taking that away. It's bad what happened in America and what's happening in America.
Y'all listen.
And you're over here in a burning house and you're going, I got to get out of this burning house. I'm coming over there. And I'm going to go, wait, they have way more opportunities than I do over here because my house is burned.
You're picking the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so to say that it's not looking down, it's just like, yo, you guys have this opportunity. And that's what my father, Americans have all of these opportunities. And so my father always focused and my mother always focused on the opportunities that were there rather than the opportunities that weren't there because that's what they saw.
But
just wanted y'all to hear that. That proves my point. You came here for opportunity. You came to gain. That's not our problem. We didn't have a house. We built one. They destroyed it. We built again, over and over again. We didn't run. We stayed. We fought. We built again. That's the difference. And you're making it seem like you guys are so fucking innocent over there. You guys cut deals with them people. People were sold. Stop making it seem like they want to create this narrative like, oh, the big bad white man just came in and just kidnapped everybody. No. With this weak mindset we looking at, we listening to y'all talk, y'all got a weak mindset. And that weak mindset is why you guys sold so many people into slavery over there. So yeah, you made bad deals. They backfired. Them people took over the country. You guys are took over the content. You guys are the majority over there. And instead of standing up and fighting for your land, y'all punk ass run over here and try to tell us what the fuck we need to do. Man, stop it. This is exactly why our movements got diluted after the civil rights movement. The influx of African and Caribbean immigrants. It was harder to organize, harder to unify. We haven't had the same level of movement since. And this is why. And this is why it's so important of identifying ourselves as foundational Black Americans. So we know who is who. Everybody is African American. Elon Musk a damn African American. Black is too vague. Y'all are Black. Even though a lot of you guys didn't honor that up until now. You used to say, ask an African if they was black. Oh, I'm not black. I'm Nigerian. They'll let you know. But now, okay, cool. It's too vague. Everybody's black. We cool. Y'all black. The Jamaica, everybody black. I ain't denying that. I'd be a fool to sit here and say this black ass nigga ain't black. But what you're not a foundational black American. And that's exactly why we are defining ourselves as foundational black American. That's a lineage. That's not vague. You can be black, you can be African American, but you cannot be foundational black American. And that's what, and they can't latch on to that. It's not vague. And for real, that's where we at with it, man. All that, oh, you could have been talking about your cousins. I just told y'all I talk about my son to his face. So saying a cousin, man, we roast. That's what we do. Once again, weak person, weak mindset. That's a defense mechanism we created coming out of slavery to be able to deflect verbal assault. But a person with such a weak mindset wouldn't understand that. You just want to run. You want to run away from the jokes. The fuck out of here, ashy ass African. Crack some jokes now. But yeah, man, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. And keep it a buck. Like I say, anybody going around talking about these people not African, you crazy. I mean, they not black. You crazy. You like, don't even give them that. I get where you could be coming from, cause yeah, they used to deny that. They used to tell you fast. And I'm not black, I'm Jamaican. What are you talking about? Wish the Jamaicans wasn't on that too tough, but them Africans was on that. They'll tell you fast. I'm not black. I'm Nigerian. I'm Ghanaian. And yeah, your father might went through redlining, but you know, by that time, your father was able to come here in this country and buy a home. I told you, my people wasn't even allowed to buy a home. We had to build communities. We had to build towns and had them destroyed and build again. So I don't want to hear about the burning home. Our homes have been burned over and over again. I think the last time they dropped a bomb or something on somebody's crib was the moving them people out of Philly. That was just in the 80s. I think late 70s, early 80s. Come on, man. I don't want to hear that. Oh, our homes were burning, our people were snatched. No, y'all sold people, made bad deals, and ended up in a bad predicament. Now you want to run over here and come over to America like this guy Arkbark, a first generation. He's an immigrant. He's a tether. What you call a tether baby. So he's a first generation American out of his family. And come over here and want to get to talking. It's my brother, cousin. Man, go on, man. Like I say, nobody hates African. We're just delineating. We know who we are, and we deal with who we deal with moving forward. We know everybody is not up with what we with. Everybody is not down. We can't pretend like we're all one anymore. The Pan-African movement has been on the black backs of foundational black Americans for too long. When are one of you guys gonna step up and push the line? You're not, because you're too busy fleeing. And the few that's over here, born and raised, you know, you have a Godfrey. And like I say, I seen in my last video, they said we see Godfrey, he jumps back and forth. But for the most part, Godfrey just don't sit and disrespect foundational Black Americans. He comes with little stuff like somebody said he's not Black. That was an ignorant point. He's Black. He's African American. But what he's not, a foundational Black American. So y'all drop y'all thoughts in the comments. Shout out to the church mob. And we out.